The Iraqi dinar is once again at the center of intense online discussion, with social media posts, videos, and headlines moving faster than verified information. For many viewers, this creates a familiar cycle of excitement, confusion, and uncertainty, where real financial signals are often mixed with speculation and rumor. This is why an Iraqi dinar update today must begin with clarity rather than conclusions. In global finance, currencies do not respond to viral narratives or repeated claims. They respond to policy structure, institutional behavior, and long-term economic conditions. When online conversations accelerate without official context, it becomes critical to slow the discussion down and examine what actually qualifies as a real signal. A real signal is not a screenshot, a leaked message, or an unnamed source. It is a pattern of behavior supported by credible institutions, consistent policy direction, and measurable economic alignment. Online rumors, by contrast, rely heavily on urgency, emotional language, and the promise of immediacy. They often recycle old information, reinterpret unrelated events, or attach certainty to speculation. The challenge for viewers is that both can appear convincing on the surface, especially when financial terminology is used. However, the difference lies in structure. Real signals are boring by design. They move slowly, require patience, and rarely come with dramatic announcements. Online rumors are exciting because they compress complexity into simple conclusions. The Iraqi dinar conversation today reflects this tension between process and prediction. Many people are not wrong for paying attention. Curiosity is natural in uncertain economic environments, but attention without discipline often leads to misunderstanding. Iraq's currency exists within a regulated, monetary system overseen by institutions whose primary responsibility is stability, not speculation. Any meaningful movement related to the dinar would need to align with domestic economic conditions, banking system readiness, fiscal coordination, and international obligations. These elements cannot be rushed or hidden indefinitely. That is why separating real signals from online rumors is not about dismissing all discussion, but about understanding how financial systems actually function. When viewers learn to recognize the difference, they move from reacting emotionally to thinking analytically. And in finance, that shift is often the most important one. What often fuels online rumors about the Iraqi dinar is a misunderstanding of how monetary systems operate and how information flows within them. Many claims assume that significant currency-related actions can occur quietly, suddenly, or through unofficial channels, but in reality, the opposite is usually true. Central banks and financial authorities operate within highly structured environments where transparency, coordination, and predictability are essential. Any real signal related to a currency like the Iraqi dinar would typically be preceded by observable groundwork, regulatory adjustments, policy consistency, institutional coordination, and clear communication patterns over time. These signals are not designed to excite the public. They are designed to maintain stability and manage expectations. Online rumors, however, often skip this entire process. They tend to take isolated events such as routine meetings, standard banking updates, or unrelated economic news, and reframe them as confirmation of imminent outcomes. This creates a distorted picture where normal financial operations are portrayed as hidden clues. Another common issue is the recycling of old narratives. Information from years past is frequently repackaged as new, stripped of context, and presented as fresh evidence. For viewers who may not follow the full historical timeline, this can feel convincing, but real financial progress leaves a trail of continuity, not repetition. It builds forward rather than looping backward. Understanding this helps explain why many rumors resurface repeatedly without resolution. They are not driven by new developments, but by the same speculative frameworks being reapplied again and again. Additionally, the global financial environment itself plays a role. During periods of uncertainty, People naturally search for signals of opportunity or change, and currencies in emerging markets often become focal points. This does not mean change is imminent. It means attention has increased. Distinguishing between increased attention and actual action is critical. Real signals tend to reduce uncertainty by clarifying direction, while rumors increase uncertainty by promising certainty without substance. When viewers recognize this difference, they are better equipped to interpret Iraqi Dinar updates with realism rather than expectation. Another important layer in separating real signals from online rumors is understanding how global financial credibility is built and measured. Currencies are not evaluated in isolation. They are assessed as part of a country's entire economic and institutional framework. For the Iraqi dinar, this means that international observers look at factors such as monetary discipline, fiscal coordination, banking sector functionality, and consistency of policy behavior over time. These elements evolve gradually and are tracked through data, reports, and long-term trends rather than sudden announcements. Online rumors often ignore this broader context, focusing instead on imagined trigger events or singular moments that are supposed to change everything at once. In reality, no credible financial system operates that way. Even when countries undertake meaningful monetary reforms, those reforms are usually the result of years of preparation, testing, and alignment with domestic and international standards. Real signals therefore tend to appear as continuity rather than surprise. They show up in how institutions behave repeatedly, how policies are reinforced rather than reversed, and how communication remains steady even during external pressure. Rumors, on the other hand, thrive on disruption. They suggest that established processes can be bypassed, that rules can be suspended, or that outcomes can be delivered without groundwork. This is appealing because it simplifies a complex reality into an easy narrative. But simplicity is often the enemy of accuracy in finance. Another factor that fuels confusion is the misuse of legitimate financial language. Terms like exchange, rate, bank procedures, or international coordination are frequently used without understanding their actual meaning, giving rumors an appearance of credibility. For viewers, the key is not to memorize technical definitions, but to observe patterns. Real financial progress is cumulative. It builds layer upon layer, reinforcing credibility slowly. If a narrative promises a result without showing the layers beneath it, that absence itself is a signal. Markets reward transparency and predictability, not surprise. By focusing on how Iraq's financial system behaves consistently over time, rather than reacting to isolated claims, viewers gain a clearer, more realistic understanding of where the Iraqi dinar actually stands. Another critical distinction between real signals and online rumors lies in understanding the role of timing and process in monetary decision-making. Online narratives often focus obsessively on when something will happen, attaching dates, windows, or right-now language to create urgency. In contrast, real financial systems are far more concerned with conditions than with timelines. For a currency like the Iraqi dinar, timing is not driven by public expectation or external pressure, but by readiness across multiple layers of the economy. This includes the strength of the banking system, compliance with international standards, internal liquidity management, fiscal coordination, and the broader macroeconomic environment. None of these elements operate on a countdown clock. They evolve based on performance, stability, and risk assessment. When rumors claim that timing is fixed or imminent without reference to these conditions, it is a strong indicator that the narrative is detached from reality. Another issue is the assumption that silence equals secrecy. Many online claims suggest that the absence of official statements is proof that something is being hidden. In practice, silence is often a sign of normal operations. Central banks and financial authorities do not provide constant updates unless there is a need to manage expectations or address instability. Frequent announcements can actually increase volatility. Real signals, therefore, are often found in what doesn't change: steady policy language, consistent operational behavior, and predictable responses to external events. Rumors struggle in this environment because they depend on disruption. They need sudden shifts, leaks, or dramatic reversals to survive. When those fail to materialize, the narrative resets and reappears in a new form. This cycle can continue indefinitely because it is not anchored to measurable progress. Another layer to consider is the role of intermediaries. Online rumors often attribute authority to unnamed insiders, private contacts, or secondhand sources. Real financial systems, however, rely on documented channels, official releases, regulatory filings, institutional data, and observable market behavior. Authority in finance comes from accountability, not anonymity. When claims cannot be traced back to accountable institutions, they remain speculation, regardless of how confidently they are presented. Understanding this helps viewers shift their focus away from emotional timing-based narratives and toward structural readiness. Real signals align with readiness. Rumors align with impatience. By learning to evaluate claims through this lens, viewers gain a more grounded perspective on Iraqi Dinar updates and are less likely to be pulled into cycles of expectation that are unsupported by reality. Ultimately, separating real signals from online rumors around the Iraqi dinar comes down to mindset and discipline rather than access to hidden information. Financial systems are designed to reward patience, consistency, and understanding of process, while rumors thrive on urgency, emotion, and repetition. The most reliable insights rarely come from dramatic claims. They come from observing how institutions behave over time and whether that behavior remains aligned under pressure. For Iraq, the story of the dinar is not a single event but an ongoing process shaped by economic management, institutional learning, and long-term stability goals. Real signals tend to reduce uncertainty by clarifying direction, even if outcomes remain gradual. Rumors do the opposite. They promise certainty without substance and often collapse when confronted with time. This does not mean that interest in the Iraqi dinar is misplaced. Curiosity is natural, especially in a world where global financial conditions are changing. But curiosity must be paired with realism. Viewers who focus on official behavior, consistent policy patterns, and structural progress are far better positioned to understand what is actually happening than those chasing the latest headline. In finance, credibility is cumulative and fragile. It is built slowly through repeated actions and lost quickly through inconsistency. By learning to distinguish between signals that emerge from structure and narratives that rely on speculation, viewers protect both their understanding and their expectations. Over time, this approach leads to clearer insight and fewer surprises. The Iraqi dinar update, when viewed through this disciplined lens, becomes less about chasing outcomes and more about understanding direction. And in global finance, understanding direction is often far more valuable than trying to predict timing.